Good evening. Welcome to California Today. I'm Daniel Hall, sitting in for Lang Jiang. We're back from our live midterm election coverage, so here's a preview of some of our top stories today. Even though Election Day is through, results are still not finalized. Nonetheless, some propositions and elected positions are looking pretty determined. We'll run through all the major ones for the Golden State. Meta announced that it will be laying off thousands of staff members. The Facebook parent company is the most recent of many big tech giants to seek cutbacks. And two lawyers talked about their class action lawsuit against the state. It's over the so-called medical misinformation bill. They're representing 5 doctors. 2022's midterm election day has concluded and the results are coming in. NTD's David Lamb has an in-depth rundown of how many of the results are looking so far.
California's voting polls closed at 8 p.m. on Tuesday, but that doesn't mean the results are in. Election results will change throughout the canvass period as vote-by-mail ballots, provisional ballots, and other ballots are tallied with a deadline in December. So far, here are the unofficial election results as of Wednesday. Voters seem to favor 3 of the 7 propositions, Props 1, 28, and 31. Prop 1 will codify abortion into the state's constitution. This measure received 65% yes votes and 35% no votes. Prop 28 will require the state to increase funding for arts and music programs in public schools, receiving nearly 62% approval. And Prop 31 also received nearly the same amount of yes votes. It would ban in-person retail and vending machines from selling most flavored tobacco products or enhancers. The other 4 propositions are not looking so good. The 2 sports betting propositions, 26 and 27, saw large opposition. 26 has received 70% no votes, and 27 has 83% no. Prop 29 would add more staffing requirements to kidney dialysis clinics. Nearly 70% voted no. And Prop 30 received nearly 60% no votes. The measure requires taxing individuals who make above $2 million in annual income to fund zero-emission vehicle programs and wildfire response and prevention. Now on to California's elected officials. Incumbent Democratic Governor Gavin Newsom will likely be re-elected, as he currently leads with 57% of the vote over Republican challenger Brian Daly's 42%. Democrat incumbent Rob Bonta is likely to hold on to his Attorney General seat with 63% of the vote. Republican challenger Nathan Hochman received 36% as of Wednesday morning. Democratic candidate Shirley Weber is also expected to retain her seat as Secretary of State with 64% of the vote over Republican Rob Bernosky with 35%. The state controller is looking to be Democratic Malia Cohen, leading with 53%, ahead of Lanhee Chen's 46%. And in the race to be the head of California's Department of Education, incumbent Tony Thurmond continues to lead challenger Lance Christensen with 67% of the vote. Christensen is at 32%. And a number of key races for federal seats will determine who represents California in Congress. The Senate seat left vacant by now Vice President Kamala Harris is up for grabs. Democratic Senator Alex Padilla is likely to retain this seat with 64% of the vote over Republican Mark Moiser with 35%. Meanwhile, in the House, Republican Representative Kevin McCarthy is holding on to the District 20 seat with 67%. Democratic challenger Marisa Wood currently has 32%. A Republican-controlled House could mean that McCarthy will become the Speaker of the House for the 118th Congress. Also in the Central Valley, Republican John Duarte and Democrat Adam Gray are in a neck-to-neck race to represent District 13. Duarte currently leads with 50.2 and Gray follows at 49.8 of the vote. 2 other key House races in the Valley are District 22 and 27, both currently held by Republican congressmen. District 22 Representative David Valadeo's seat is being challenged by Democratic Rudy Salas. Valadeo leads with 53% and Salas follows with 46%. District 27 has more registered Democratic voters, but Republican Mike Garcia is currently in the lead with 57%. Democrat challenger Christy Smith sits at 42%. And two Southern California Republican representatives face close races to defend their seats. District 40's incumbent Young Kim faces off with Democrat challenger Asif Mahmood. Kim currently has 52% and Mahmood has 47% of the vote. District 45's incumbent Michelle Steele takes the lead with 55%, while Democratic Jay Chen follows with 44% of the vote. And in Northern California, along the Nevada border, sits the newly redrawn District 3, which has been Democrat-led since 2013. Now Democrat Kermit Jones faces off against Republican Kevin Kiley, who currently leads with 53%. Jones follows at 47%. County elections officials must report final official results to the California Secretary of State by December 9th in order for certified election results by December 16th. David Lamb, NTD News, California.
Facebook parent company Meta is cutting jobs. CEO Mark Zuckerberg announced a massive number of layoffs will be needed to keep the company running smoothly. NTD's Sean Marshall has more.
Meta Platforms Incorporated said on Wednesday it will let go of 13% of its workforce. It's cutting more than 11,000 out of about 87,000 employees. It's one of the biggest layoffs this year as the Facebook parent company battles inflation, soaring costs, and a weak advertising market after overextending themselves during the pandemic bump. Emily Zinberg is a social media and digital marketing director at 3E Public Relations.
As a public relations agency, we've been seeing great impacts of Meta's changes for quite some time. These layoffs, I don't see that affecting users on their level greatly. However, for brands and businesses, this is going to make them question their 2023 planning for sure.
Mark Zuckerberg shared the following explanation with his employees. At the start of COVID, the world rapidly moved online and the surge of e-commerce led to an outsized revenue growth. Many people predicted this would be a permanent acceleration that would continue even after the pandemic ended. I did too. So I made the decision to significantly increase our investments. Unfortunately, this did not pay out the way I expected.
Over the years, they've been struggling with privacy changes from Apple's iOS updates. They've been seeing the compliance issues that Facebook and Meta have had to implement impact their targeting. They can't hit people the way they used to. That's greatly increased their costs, impacted their entire strategy.
You're talking about probably the average NBA basketball game, filling that stadium with the average attendance for an NBA basketball game and then telling them, hey, by the way, you don't have a job anymore here.
Bob Bilbrook gave me his businessman's perspective.
You're really not going to see the impact of this on the bottom line for another quarter of these cuts. I think that's what they're doing is they're lining up the beginning of their 2023 to be stronger and have the comeback. Although the stock did bounce, I think like 3% this morning. So I think you're seeing investors kind of getting re-energized and believing in maybe Zuckerberg's making the right decisions around how he's running the companies.
The mass layoffs, the first in Meta's 18-year history, follow thousands of job cuts at other major tech companies, including Elon Musk's own Twitter and Microsoft. And just this week, Salesforce also laid off hundreds of people, but nowhere near Meta's 11,000. Meta said employees who are laid off will get 16 weeks of base pay plus 2 additional weeks for every year of service, and all remaining paid time off as part of a severance package, 6 months health insurance, 3 months career support, and dedicated immigration specialists to assist visa holders. The pandemic boom continues to teach us all lessons about the problems a temporary shutdown of society can bring. Sean Marshall, NTD News.
Several doctors are suing officials in California over a new COVID-19 medical disinformation law. The governor signed it into law at the end of September. I heard from 2 attorneys involved in the lawsuit. Here's what they had to say. 5 doctors are suing the state of California for its new medical misinformation bill born out of the COVID lockdown era. That's Assembly Bill 2098. The legal team says the law poorly defines scientific consensus since information has been changing so rapidly for COVID.
We've seen that sort of throughout the pandemic, where the so-called experts were saying the vaccines stop transmission. Now we know that they don't, that masks, cloth masks were effective. Now we know that they're not. So the idea that you're sort of going to prevent scientific progress by saying that people only can say things within the consensus is highly problematic from a First Amendment perspective.
Janine Eunice, the lead attorney on the case, says the implications are far-reaching. She argues the law will negatively impact physicians' abilities to treat their patients the best they can, especially when that treatment is based on their experience and professional judgment.
Ultimately, what we're arguing is that the law doesn't define scientific consensus. So it says it punishes doctors, or it subjects doctors to discipline for saying things to patients about COVID that aren't in the scientific consensus. But that's not defined. So how are doctors to know?
Eunice stresses the importance of courts striking down the law right away so that other states don't emulate it. The law's text reads, physicians who engage in the dissemination of COVID-19 vaccine misinformation or disinformation risk losing their medical license.
But so many other doctors are scared into being silent. And that creates a situation, too, where the patients can't trust their doctors. The patients know that their doctors are afraid to give them their honest opinions. So because of laws like this.
Laura Powell, another attorney representing the doctors, says the law is too vaguely defined and is a violation of their constitutional right to free speech and due process.
Generally speaking, laws must be clearly defined. You can't have a law that is so vague that people aren't sure what it means, because this creates a situation where doctors are going to censor themselves. So that's what's happening here when you have this very vague phrase of contemporary scientific consensus. So that would violate due process because the law doesn't meet that standard.
Powell added that their first goal is to stop the law from going into effect.
So we are first seeking a preliminary injunction that would prevent it from taking effect on January 1st, and then a permanent injunction so it will never take effect.
The defendants, including Governor Gavin Newsom, have not responded to requests for comment. Daniel Hall, NTD News, California. It's time for a short break, but we've got a lot of great stories ready for you when we come back. Here's a quick look. A mixed martial artist in the Bay Area has been released from jail after being granted bail. That comes after he was arrested for chasing down a man that was accused of molesting a child. And a world-class tea tasting event returned to San Francisco. After a short hiatus, top-tier tea from all over the globe was ready for guests to sample once more. That and more on California Today. Welcome back to California Today. I'm Daniel Hall, sitting in for Lang Jiang. A former mixed martial arts champion has been released from jail after being granted bail the day before. He was arrested earlier this year for allegedly attempting to murder a man who, he claims, molested his son.
A judge granted former UFC heavyweight champion Cain Velasquez a $1 million bail on Tuesday. He was released on Wednesday. Velasquez was arrested in San Jose in February for shooting at and ramming into a pickup truck. The owner of the truck, Harry Goulart, allegedly molested Velasquez's 4-year-old son. Velasquez was charged with attempted murder and multiple gun assaults. He was denied bail multiple times. Goulart worked for a daycare where Velasquez's son attended, where the incident allegedly took place. In July, Velasquez sued Goulart. Santa Clara County officials charged Goulart with lewd and lascivious acts with a minor. In addition to the bail, Velasquez will also have GPS monitoring, therapy, and area restrictions. But he and his supporters are thrilled he can return home to his wife and 2 children.
Los Angeles has seen an 85% increase in ghost gun recovery. That's in addition to police saying there's been a 45% increase in robberies involving a firearm compared to several years ago. Since 2019, the Los Angeles Police Department has recovered over 1,500 ghost guns. These guns are privately manufactured handguns and rifles that are non-serialized. On Tuesday, LAPD Chief Michael Moore told the Police Commission that ghost gun parts are sold continually from out-of-state vendors, commercial establishments, and online sellers. The weapons are assembled in small machine shops or sometimes garages and backyards. Moore said that there has been a nearly 4% increase in violent crime compared to this time last year. In response, the department established the Violent Crime Task Force in June. Over the last 4 months, there have been nearly 444 felony arrests, 142 recovered firearms, and 273 follow-up investigations. WalletHub, a personal finance website, ranked Los Angeles as one of the nation's most dangerous cities in October. Out of 182 cities, LA ranked 172nd when accounting for metrics such as number of multi-victim shootings, assaults and thefts, murders, law enforcement personnel, and other data points. The San Francisco International Tea Festival is held once a year and brings together tea drinkers to experience and learn about all things related to tea. It features world-class vendors and speakers from different areas around the globe. NTD's Jason Blair has the tea on what the festival had to offer.
After 2 years off due to the pandemic, the San Francisco International Tea Festival is back on this year. They have a variety of teas on showcase from around the world. I'm told that there is something for everyone, whether you're just a casual tea drinker or more of a tea enthusiast. Tea is said to be the world's most popular beverage after water. According to the Tea Council of the USA, more than 159 million Americans are drinking tea each day.
We have vendors who will bring you small batches of chai. We have vendors who will bring you small batches of artisanal teas. We have vendors that'll bring you herbal tisanes and blends.
Nice to meet you.
Flavored teas, everything you could ever imagine, we try and have it here.
Fong said that this year is the first time the event has been held since 2019 and they are sold out.
So every single person that comes in gets a porcelain teacup that they get to keep throughout the event and take home with them as a memento.
The event had a friendly atmosphere. People could be seen chatting, taking sips of tea, and lining up to try the next cuppa on their list. One of those lines was in front of Sugimoto Tea, a company specializing in Japanese matcha. Along with bringing some of their best teas, they also offered authentic Japanese teaware, like this bamboo chasen used for whisking matcha.
The Japanese-made whisks are a lot harder to come by. Usually they're Chinese-made. So the Japanese there's a bit more craftsmanship and like aging of the bamboo. It takes a lot longer to make one in the traditional style. So we had them also in the traditional paper box with the information of the artisan on here. Most of these are only made in one region of Japan currently. It's kind of a dying art, so we're proud to be representing some of that artistry here at the show.
The Nepal Tea Collective offered a world-class award-winning white tea that won bronze at the 2019 Global Tea Championship.
Yeah, so Nepali teas are very unique in a lot of different characters, but one thing that makes it really unique is kind of the terroir and the microclimate that the country sits in, which is perfect for high quality orthodox teas. The microclimate and the tea bushes are very young, which really gives it a lot more floral characters in all of the teas. In fact, the one that I have right now is a white tea, which is technically world's third best white tea in 2019. It won the Global Tea Championship.
Nish said the company values not just making award-winning tea, but also transparency and traceability.
So every single packet comes with a QR code on the back. This QR code really shows you, when you scan that, it really shows you exactly the date when that tea was plucked, when it was processed, and not just data, but really every single farmer's photo or the pictures of the farmers that actually made that possible for you.
Chico Chai has been a crowd favorite over the years at the festival. They offered chai blends made from scratch, as well as a hands-on workshop.
So people can learn a little bit more about spices, learn how they typically can go together, and then everybody gets their hands in bowls of spices and gets to make their own blends that really speak to them.
I really love chai, so I was very surprised to see that there's a lot of different vendors selling like different flavors of chai, which has been fun to try out.
I think the mushroom tea, I don't remember the name of the vendor, but I've never seen that before, so I was excited to try that.
Yeah, I've really liked it. Sampled a lot of teas. It's been nice to try some new ones.
Already like tea. It's a great place to just talk about tea and learn more. Like I've learned a lot today already. Also planning on picking up some gifts.
The annual event lasts for 2 days. It was started in 2011 by Imperial Tea Court founder Ray Fong. Fong's vision was to create an event where people could come together and share their love and joy over a cup of tea. Jason Blair, NTD News, San Francisco.
Now we're going to send it over to NTD's Thomas Christian for your sports roundup.
I'm Thomas Christian, giving you the California Today Sports Roundup.
Barry Bonds and Roger Clemens, whose legacies were tainted by allegations of steroid use, were given another chance at making the Baseball Hall of Fame after being among the 8 players named on Monday to the Contemporary Baseball Era Player Ballot. Any candidate who received 75% of the votes on the ballot cast by the 16-member Contemporary Baseball Era Players Committee on December 4th will earn election to the Hall of Fame in 2023. The committee, which focuses on the period from 1980 to the present day, considers retired Major League Baseball players who are no longer eligible for election by the Baseball Writers Association of America. In January, Bonds and Clemens both failed to reach the 75% threshold needed for induction in their 10th and final year of eligibility on the BBWAA ballot. Bonds earned support from 66% of the vote, while Clemens received 65.2%. Barry Bonds is baseball's all-time home run leader, and Roger Clemens is one of the game's most dominant pitchers. But despite on-field accomplishments that exceed Hall of Fame standards, many voters soured on them due to performance-enhancing drug allegations. Both Bonds, who has long denied knowingly using performance-enhancing drugs, and Clemens, who has maintained that he never used them, have at no time tested positive for a banned substance or received discipline from MLB. Netflix Inc. is exploring investments in live sports broadcasting and has recently bid for the streaming rights for sports leagues, the Wall Street Journal reported on Tuesday. The company recently bid for streaming rights of the ATP Tennis Tour for some European countries, including France and the United Kingdom, but dropped out, the report said. The company also discussed bidding for other events, including UK rights to the Women's Tennis Association and cycling competitions, and was in talks late last year to acquire the World Surf League. Netflix executives have considered buying lower-profile sports leagues to avoid the mounting costs of bidding for sports rights, while some of them believe they could boost lesser-known sports into franchises given the size of the platform. The move comes as Netflix has been struggling to add new subscribers as competition from rivals including Disney, Apple, and Amazon increases. Streaming platforms are also looking at live sports to gain market share in an already saturated market. Disney and Liberty-owned Formula One extended their broadcast partnership last month, while Major League Soccer and Apple TV announced a partnership to stream every game on the app for the next decade.
And that's all for sports.
That's all for our show tonight, but we'd love for you to join us again on California Today every weekday at 8:30 p.m. Make sure to check out our broadcast on our California Today webpage. You can find it at ntd.com/California-Today. You can also find all of our top latest clips there, ready to share with friends and family. Send us a message on Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram, or through our email, california.today@ntd.com. I'm Daniel Hall, sitting in for Lang Jiang. Have a wonderful evening.